everyone, in this episode we're going to be looking at seed sowing. It's great to start seeds now because there's roughly 10 hours of sunlight in the day. We try not to sow seeds before that because they can become all leggy and gangly. So if you've bought seeds from Picked at Dawn, they will have come in possibly 3 different coloured packets. I've only got 2 here with me today because this is what's concerning us today. Is the grey packets there are all hardy annuals. Anything that comes in a pink packet is only a half hardy annual. So because today it's the 1st of March, it's still too early here to be sowing the half hardy annuals. So what we're going to concentrate on is sowing the hardy annuals. So they come in a pack like that. This one here I've got Cornflower Blue Boy 300. So this is what we're going to be sowing now. A few options to look at when you're sowing seeds. The first thing you need to think about is how many seeds you need to sow that's relevant to the ground that you're going to be growing in. Obviously here, this is a commercial flower farm, so we need to grow quite a lot of seeds. So this here is a 54 cell tray. As you can see, you can pop your finger out the bottom. It just makes it easy to stop root disturbance when I'm popping them in the field. My plants go directly from this side cell into the field without any problem at all. I appreciate if you're growing smaller quantities for yourself at home, then what you might be better is using a pot. You don't have to buy brand new pots. Garden centres, you can pick them up there. They're always desperate to get rid of their plastic to be reused and recycled, so see if you can pick some second-hand ones up. If you are sowing for your home, then it's the similar principle. It's just that you'd be filling a pot with the compost, opposed to here, I'm going to fill a tray as well. So after you've thought about the relevant size container that's best for you to sow your seed into, next you need to be thinking about what type of compost you're going to buy. Here we're using peat-free compost because that's all we use on the site. This is from Dalefoot Composts in Cumbria, and it's made out of sheep's wool and bracken, and this is actually their seed sowing mix here. It's fantastic stuff. One word of advice that I would have for you though is with compost you do get what you pay for. So please, it's worth investing in some decent seed sowing compost rather than just the multi-purpose compost that's on offer outside your local garden centre or supermarket, because it will help your seeds germinate better. So that tray now is full. I always give it a little shake like that. And all of the cells are level, more or less, to a point. What I haven't got is half a cell down here, half a cell up there, because it'll affect how quickly the seeds will dry out. So another little tap there, and that's done. If you were growing in a pot, just a little tap and you'll see that it sinks down. Always water before you put your seeds into the compost. Give everything a really good drink. When I say really good, that's what I mean by really good. So this is the watered seed tray there. You can see that all the water now is soaked into the compost. The reason that we do that is because if you see the size of the seeds, and these cornflower seeds are fairly large by comparison to some other seeds that you get, like amaranthus and Gypsophilia Covent Garden, and they would just get washed away if I watered after. So I tend to sow, if I'm sowing into cells, I tend to sow 2 seeds per cell. So if you struggle with picking the seeds up, or if they're even smaller than cornflower seeds, one thing that you can do is, you don't have to invest lots of money in buying special equipment, is just a piece of paper or card and put them into the little gap in the middle, the little gully, and as you tap with something that's slightly heavier, they fall in, and they fall in slowly, and it might make it easier for you to sow the seeds. So once you've got your seeds sown, I put 2 seeds per cell in there. If I was sowing directly into a pot to try and save space, if I was limited on a window ledge or in a smaller greenhouse, then that's maximum that I would put in the top of a pot. Now it's just a case of giving them a sprinkle of compost over the top and pressing it down. You can use vermiculite if you wish, but these are cornflowers and they're not that susceptible to damping off, so you should be okay without vermiculite. Always remember to write a label. Cornflower seeds, if you take a look at these are Gypsophilia Covent Garden seeds. They're absolutely tiny. As a general rule, and it doesn't always work, but as a general rule I would recommend the smaller the seed, the less you cover it. Gypsophilia Covent Garden seeds I actually just surface sow onto the top of the compost, so unlike how we did the cornflowers just before, I won't actually cover this seed. On this bench, which is a heat bench, so this here is Phlox Blushing Bride, and that was sown on the 2nd of the 2nd, and as you can see there, it's just starting to germinate through. This is the thermostat that runs the heat bench here, and this here is set at 18 degrees, which is perfect germination temperature for most of the seedlings at this time of year. Okay, so it's been a couple of weeks now since we sowed these cornflower, which we were sowing on the 1st of March. So as you can see, there's a tray where we just tried to put a couple of seeds in it to each cell, and you can see the germination rate there is pretty good. Now we don't have to mess about with those guys, they can go straight out, not yet when they've grown in a bit, but these ones are the ones that we have to deal with today, because they've all germinated through and they've got 2 sets of leaves on them. So I'm going to show you how we prick out seedlings. So here we've just got some pots that you can pick up from most garden centres or nurseries that are trying to get rid of them nowadays. Just giving them a wash out to make sure they haven't got any pests and diseases lingering in them. And then we're going to fill these with seed compost right to the top. So now we've filled all those pots, we need to knock out some of these seedlings. Some people might have sown them into an open top tray, in which case you won't have as much depth there, but as I don't have any open top trays, because it's not the way I generally grow, I've sown mine into a pot. Now what you can do is, if the roots have started to join together, sometimes I just use an old fork to prise them apart a little bit. But what we're trying to do there is get an individual seedling with a fairly intact root system, and then each one of these little fellas will pot into his own individual pot now to grow on until they're nice and big and strong, and then you can plant them out. So you don't need any fancy equipment. Like you can see, I've got an old fork there and a pot that we got from a garden centre nursery, some compost, and then we've potted that into there. So that's him happy now. We haven't sunk him down, it's right to the top the way he was grown before. So I'll get on and pot all these now, and then we'll have a look when I'm finished at how many we've got. So it's quite important when you are potting on or pricking out your seedlings that what I'm not doing is I'm not touching the growing stem there, and I'm being really gentle with the root system, because if you touch the growing stem, the chances are that you might actually snap it or bend it, which will make the plant suffer. So I tend to always hold it by one of its leaves. So we've potted all those on now, and they're all sat snugly in their pots. There's 25 of them that we've managed to prick out there, so that should hold us in quite good stead for some flowers at the end of June. And the most important thing now is that we give them all a really, really good watering.